Record. There we go. All right. Any questions before we move on to adding navigation? Yeah, I just started the recording. So from this point on, we are recording. All right. So adding navigation with routing. New requirements for the Tour of Heroes app. Add a dashboard view. Add the ability to navigate between the heroes and the dashboard views. When users click a hero name in either view, it navigates to a detail view of the selected hero. When users click a deep link in an email, you're sending emails or something? I'm not sure what they mean by that. Maybe it's something from before that I didn't notice, but we'll see. When users click a deep link in an email, open the detail view for a particular hero. All right, so this is going to be adding another component. So I can tell what we're going to need to do just by reading some of these new features that we're adding to our application. Add a dashboard view. That just means we're going to be adding another component that we're going to use for another page, for a dashboard page. The ability to navigate between heroes and dashboard views. We're probably going to need a couple of buttons like they show here. Right. See that dashboard and heroes buttons, and those two will navigate between the two pages. So we're going to need some buttons, and we're going to hook them up to navigation. And then when users click a hero name in either view, navigate to a detail view of the selected hero. So that's probably going to be another component that we're going to be navigating to, right? When they say a view, that's usually a page or part of a page that changes. So like here, it doesn't look like it's taking up the whole page. Well, it looks like it won't be taking up the whole page. Maybe it will. But navigating to a new view, if you're navigating to something, it's going to be a component, right? You pretty much always navigate to a component. I don't see any way you can navigate to anything else. But your page is going to be a component, and that's what we're going to be navigating to. So we're going to need to make dashboard component, a couple buttons to navigate between heroes component, which we already have, and the dashboard component. And then when you click a hero name, you need to navigate to the detail view. So we're going to have, well, we already have our hero details component, right? So we might just be using that to navigate to that. So we might not have to make another one for the detail view, but we'll see. And then when the users click a deep link in email, we'll see what this is. I'm not sure we're doing an email thing, but we'll see. So when you're done, users will be able to navigate the application like this. This little diagram of the buttons you can click and where they take you. So you just follow the arrows, right? If you click the back button when you're on the details view, it'll take you back to the dashboard. You click the view details, it will take you to the details page. And when you click a hero, it will take you to the details page. Oh, when you click a hero, it shows this, and then you click view details, I think. Well, it'll make more sense when we keep reading. So the app routing module. So in Angular, best practice is to load and configure the router in a separate top-level module that's dedicated to routing and imported by the app module. most of this isn't going to make sense to you guys until we get to actually writing it, but I'll read it anyway. By convention, the module class name is app routing module, and it belongs in the app routing module.typescript file in the source app folder. And there's a CLI command to generate it. So it's ng, just like every other Angular command, generate, just like every other Angular command that generates something. And then we're making a module, right? It's an app routing module. So we're creating a module, naming it app routing. The -- flat flag puts the file in the source app folder instead of its own. And then the -- module equals app tells the CLI to register it in the imports array of the app module. So all this is doing is generating a module file. This is the name. This puts it in its own, doesn't generate a folder for it. So if we didn't have this, it would have its own folder, but we just want to put it in the app folder, right here. And then this flag just automatically imports it to our app module. So I'm going to run this, and then this down here is what it should look like when it's generated. So I'm going to stop the server, just copy and paste that CLI command. All right, so it gives us this nice message that it created our file and updated our app module with the import. So this is green, so that means that it's a new file, right? Since I pulled this from Marty's repository, I added a new file that's not been committed yet, so that's why it's green. And this is the file. This is what it looks like. It automatically imported it here. That's what this nice green bar on the left shows. It means I added this line since I pulled from his repository. And it imported the app routing module for me, which is nice. So it generated this file, and this looks pretty much exactly the same as what they show here, but for me, the declarations is above the imports array, which doesn't matter. That doesn't change anything. That's fine, I think. Imports, declarations. Yeah, I don't think the order matters, but that might just be a slightly different version of Angular. So I'm just going to keep it the way that it was generated. So if you're following along with me, then you should copy and paste this command. If you have any problems with that, please let me know. Just copy and paste it, run it. Should make something like this. Go to serve my app again. Okay. So we have our app routing module. So this is where we're going to declare our routes. So you have different components that we're going to be routing to, but you have to declare the routes in a routing file. So an important thing to note is that we could do everything we're doing in here in our routing file. We could do everything we're doing here inside the app module, but it's nicer to have separation of concerns. Otherwise, we're going to be adding, for every route you have, we're going to have an object in an array like this, which we're going to do in a second. And if you have a lot of different pages in your app, then that's going to be adding a lot of stuff to your app module file, which already has a bunch of stuff. So it's nice to keep it separate so you don't have super long files. All right, so replace it with the following. But all we need to do, you could just copy and paste all this if you want. Shortcut, I'm going to go through it line by line a little bit. So we want to import router module Actually, I will just copy and paste all of it and then talk about it. So I'll just replace it with this. Command A, Command V. There we go. So the only things this changed was it imported the router module and then this routes module from Angular router. And also imported the heroes component. That wasn't there before, right? Yeah. So we imported the heroes component and then these router modules from Angular router. And then we have this array const routes of type routes, which is what the thing we're importing from Angular router. And then we have this object. I'm going to do this. An array right now just has one object, but the object has the path property. That's just a string heroes and the component property. So this is the route that we're going to be routing to. We'll be using this string later. And this is the component that when we navigate to the heroes route, it's going to show the heroes component here. So we navigate to this path, then it shows this component. So this is just for one page that we're going to have. And then down here, we just add to our imports array router module.forRoot, and then we pass it the routes array, and then we also export the router module. Okay, and then this whole thing gets imported in our app module. So imports, yeah, so they're just talking about what we imported. These two things just make it so we can have routing functionality. We import the heroes component so that we can tell it to navigate here whenever we go to this path. So that's why we import our component. Notice that the common module references and the declarations array are unnecessary. Oh yeah, we didn't use those at all. So that's why we just got rid of those. So we had the common module import before, and then we had it here, and then we had declarations here, but we're not doing anything with either of those, so they just got rid of them. So here we just have our array of objects of type routes. Each route has two properties, path and component. Path is a string that matches the URL in the browser address bar. So you guys will see what this looks like in a little bit. Component is the component that the router should create when navigating to this route. So this is just the component that we should show when we navigate to this path. So this tells the router to match that URL to path heroes and display the heroes component when the URL is something like localhost 4200/heroes. Again, we'll see what this looks like in our app in a little bit here. And then the router module.forRoot section just basically initializes it and makes it actually listen for browser location changes. So before we made all that stuff, if we changed the URL, it wouldn't do anything. It probably won't do anything here either. Yeah, it doesn't really do anything here either because we haven't really done much with our routing. But the router module.forRoot is what tells Angular to actually listen to changes in our browser URL within our app. So that's why we need that. You can read more details about it here. This could explain it better than I can about what it's doing in the background. But the method is called forRoot because we're configuring the router at the application's root level. So that's not super important right now, but you can configure child routes and stuff for individual components, and you would declare the routes in there. But we're just declaring our routes in our app module, basically. So that's how we do forRoot. It's not super important at this moment to care about that. But add the router outlet. So let's see here. Right now, we just have our app component is just showing two components that we made. We just have them hard coded here. We're showing app heroes and app messages. We're just using the selectors right in our app component HTML file, and that's what's being shown. But we can use this router outlet tag and put it in our app component HTML. Let me read this. No longer needs app heroes because it will only display the heroes component when the user navigates. Yeah, the router outlet tag tells the router which component, tells the router to show whatever is the currently active route. So if we get rid of these selectors and we just add router outlet like this, then it should show whatever is the currently active route here instead. So let me go ahead and see what they want us to do next. Actually, became available in the app component because app module imports app routing module. Yeah, so you can only use this once you have your routing actually set up and imported. Yeah, add this import. It's just telling us that it automatically imported it when we generated it. Routing module should still be running with the CLI command. I think, yeah. The browser should refresh and display the application title, but not the list of heroes. The browser's address bar ends with just a slash, but the route for the path to our heroes component is /heroes. So here, I'll just show you guys. So if we add this, save it, make sure everything is saved. So right now, we're not showing our components anymore. We just have the router outlet. So if we go here, refresh. Why is this showing? Oh, because I have /heroes here. If I get rid of this and then refresh. There. So now there's no slash at the end of the URL in the bar. It's just localhost 4200. So there's no slash. So we don't see our heroes component anymore. That is because we don't have a route set up for an empty slash, right? If we want to show the heroes component, then we have to go to /heroes. That's what we defined here. So if we just do that, heroes. So if we do this and append heroes at the end with a slash, then that will navigate, or will change the URL, obviously. Angular will detect that and see now we have /heroes. So then the heroes component is the currently active route. And then the router outlet will show that because it shows whatever route we're currently on, right? So we're navigating. We're not technically navigating yet, but we have the router outlet, shows whatever route is active. And if we activate the heroes route, then it will show the heroes component. So if I just append /heroes here, click enter, now it will show the heroes component. All right. So basically that's all navigation is. We match a string with a component. When we use that, navigate to that path that we defined with our string, then the router outlet will show that component in our app module. All right. So now we need a navigation link. So now we need buttons to actually navigate. So our buttons basically are just going to be, all they do is change the URL. And then when we change the URL, our routing module sees that, and then our router outlet displays the component that we're navigating to. So that's all our navigation buttons are going to do. They're going to change the URL, which then affects the state of the router and will show a different component. So I think that's what we're going to do next. Ideally, users should be able to click a link to navigate rather than pasting a route URL. Yeah, that makes sense. Don't want to have your users having to type stuff in when you could just click a button. So we add a nav element, and within that, a tag, and then when we click that, it will trigger navigation. So we just add these lines here. Oh, we still have our app messages component. So I'll add that back. So we just don't have app heroes. We just have the router outlet. And then we're going to have a nav component. What does that look like? It's just has our one button. So router link attribute is set to /heroes. The string that the router matches to the route. The string that the router matches. This is not correct grammar, I think. But basically, this string that we add here, when we click this A tag, it will append this string to the end of our URL. Then Angular is going to detect that. It's going to find the component that matches to that string, and it's going to show that component. So if I just get rid of the slash here, we still have our navigation button, right? Our A tag, because everything that you put in the app component will always show, right? So we added this nav, has the A tag. And now when we click that, it should append heroes to the end, and then it will show the heroes component. So if I do this, that's what it does. So now we're basically just navigating, right? This is navigation, basically. We just click a button, changes the URL, and then Angular detects the URL change and shows the right component that matches that string at the end. So it shows our heroes component when we click that button. So that is routing, really basic routing, but it's super useful, right? Did anyone have any questions so far? I know it's a lot of stuff, but that's why we practice. All right, I'm gonna keep going then. Okay, so yeah, the router link attribute, we can use that because we have our routes imported into the app module. We have our app routing module imported. That's why we can use this router link attribute on an A tag. Browser refreshes, yeah, displays, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I might click it, yeah, then it just navigates. And we can add CSS styles to our A tag to make it look better, but we can do that later. So now we have routing set up. This is all we need to do to set up routing. We add this file. We have an object for each component that we might want to route to. And then in our app component, we just have the router outlet, which is going to be the page that's going to be changing. And then we have our navigation buttons here, which will always show, right? You usually don't want to get rid of these your navigation buttons, or else the user won't be able to navigate, right? So that's why we put it here in the app component. Sometimes you get rid of them if you're on like a login page, right? Because then you're not going to be able to navigate anywhere if you're not logged in yet. But that's a future change that we'll make when we do authentication. But just know everything put in the app component will always show, but the router outlet just shows whatever is the currently active route. So it will show something different based on how we change the URL with our buttons and stuff. So we're going to add our dashboard view. So now we're getting into, finally, our first bullet point here. Technically, we've already done the second one, I guess. We just don't have the dashboard view yet. But we have routing set up. We just need to add another component to route to and from. So adding a dashboard view, we're just going to generate a dashboard component like we've done before with the CLI ng generate component dashboard. Makes our dashboard component. And then we place the default file content with these files. So I can just copy this. You can go to dashboard, paste it, and then I'll go over what it's doing in a second. Paste, I don't know, what is that? CSS, okay. And then copy the TypeScript file, go here, save this, and then there's also some styles that we can get from them. So I'll go over the HTML and the TypeScript, but the CSS styles, you can look through those yourself if you're wondering what they're doing. So, okay. So all this does, it looks like we have this property here, heroes, and then we're getting our heroes. So we're doing the same thing that we were doing in our heroes page, it looks like. And we're just looping over it and displaying the name. And we have some styles applied to this. So let's serve this again. And see what it looks like. Oh, well, it's not going to show because we can't navigate to it yet. So we're not going to be able to see it yet, actually. Yeah, we're not going to be able to see it. We don't have a way to navigate to it quite yet. So let's just keep going and see what they want us to do next. All right. So this is just describing the files. Template presents a grid of hero name links. We use an ng4 to loop over our array of heroes. Classes, really similar to our heroes component. Yeah. We get heroes on ng on init. Oh, we're just returning. So dot slice. So we're getting our list of heroes from our hero service. We're assigning this dot heroes to heroes dot slice. And heroes dot slice just gives the first 5, right? So we give it a start index, and then how many elements after that we want to return. So we're starting at 1 instead of 0 for some reason. Returns the slice list of heroes at positions 1 and 5. So returns 4 of the top heroes. I see. Second, so everything except for the first one, and nothing after the fifth one. So 2 through 5. And we add the route for our dashboard, right? So we want to eventually navigate to our dashboard. So we do the same thing we did for our heroes component here. We have another page we want to add, so we add another route declaration here. Path, we want to name it, Oh, empty string, that's right. So I'll show you guys why we need an empty string in a minute. And then let me read for a second. Okay. So empty path, and then redirect to. Redirect to, and then we are going to have slash dashboard. And then path match full. And then why is it not having yes on? Oh yeah. Oh, I'm skipping a part. So we need to do this. So what I was going to do at the beginning. So we need to do this just like the first one first. So we want dashboard here, and then we want to import dashboard components from dashboard component. There. And then component here. So here we just declare the route for our dashboard component. So when we want to click a button and navigate to it, but still when we first navigate to our app, like when we first load it, it doesn't show either of the components still. So that's why we need to add this object. So we need to add this at the beginning of the array, I think we should. So when we first navigate to the app, there's no slash at the end. So that's why it's not showing either of our components. But we can do this. Path empty string. So when there's no slash at the end, that's basically the same as an empty string, right? There's nothing there. So when we first navigate to it, if we add a route for our empty string, then it will show that component. That's what we're doing here. Redirect to slash dashboard. Redirect to slash, can't type, slash dashboard path match full. There we go. All right. So now when we first navigate and open up our app, the URL will not have a slash at the end. So that will match this empty string here. And then it will redirect from that empty string to slash dashboard. And path match full just means it has to be an exact match. There can't be anything after slash dashboard or anything like that. It has to be localhost 4200 slash dashboard. Or localhost 4200 empty string, I should say. And then that will redirect it to slash dashboard. So when we first open it up, it will automatically navigate to slash dashboard and show our dashboard component. So if we do this, if we just get rid of the slash and then press enter, we'll see it adds it again because we're navigating to the empty string and getting redirected to slash dashboard. Then when we're on slash dashboard, then it shows the dashboard component, which is this. It's the top heroes and then these heroes it's showing here. All right. Add dashboard link to the shell. All right, before we go on the next section, let's take a break. Let's take a 10-minute break. I need to get some water, and some of you might need to also. So let's take a 10-minute break before we keep going. So see you guys 6:25. Alrighty. So where were we? We are going to add another tab to our little nav section up here so that we can navigate back to the dashboard without having to click the back button. So that's what we're going to do here. We're just going to add another A tag. In our app component, in our nav element. And that's just going to do the same thing as heroes, but we're going to go to /dashboard instead. So just paste that there. And then, ooh, maybe I should add a space. I want a space later, but here we have dashboard, takes us to dashboard now, and heroes. So with that, we have the second part done because we have the ability to navigate between heroes and the dashboard views. Any questions? Okay, no worries. I'm recording, so if you want later, you can just look at the last 20, 30 minutes of the recording. So, all right. So that with that, we have the ability to navigate between the heroes and the dashboard views, right? So we added the dashboard view. That's just creating that component, and we use the code that they gave us. And we added navigation, and we have the ability to navigate between the dashboard views. All our navigation is this routing file where we describe our routes in these objects, right? So we have the empty route, so where we want to navigate when we first load the app. And then we have the paths for the heroes in the dashboard's routes, and then the components that they show. And then we added the router outlet, which just shows whichever route we're on. And then we added these two A tags. And when we click the dashboard one, it takes us to /dashboard and shows the dashboard component. And when we click the heroes one, it does the same thing, but /heroes and shows the heroes component. So that's all our navigation is. We just have a couple components that are our pages, the heroes component, the dashboard component. We declare our routes in our app routing module like this. We add the router outlet, and then we add buttons to navigate to those routes. So really routing is just those three components, right? The routing module, the router outlet, and some buttons for the user to navigate with. And that's all routing is. And obviously the components, but those are just components. There's nothing special with the way we're doing routing right now. The components are just there, and they just get shown when we navigate to them. But there's nothing super special about the components right now, the way they are. They just show data like we've done before. So that's routing, and we have two different pages. And next, we, when the heroes click the hero name in either view, navigate to a detail page. So this is where we get a little bit more in depth with routing. So right now we're just navigating between two different pages. Functionally, it's pretty simple. There's not a whole lot of code that goes with that. It's just the components and then our array of routes and then the buttons. That's all it is. But if we want to make it so that when we click a hero, it takes us to another view and shows the data from that hero that we clicked, right? How do we do that? How do we pass this data from this hero into the next page, the next route? And I think that's what we're going to learn now. So navigating to hero details. So we already have our hero details component, displays details of a selected hero. At the moment, it is only visible at the bottom of the screen. That's what is down here, the details component. This is it. But we would want to make this a separate screen, basically. I'm pretty sure that's what we're going to do. We're going to take it out of our heroes component and then make it its own screen. So the user should be able to get to these details in 3 ways: by clicking a hero in the dashboard. So if we go to the dashboard, clicking a hero, clicking a hero in the heroes list. So if we go to heroes, clicking one of these heroes should navigate. And then by pasting a deep link URL into the browser address bar that identifies the hero to display. So deep linking applies to web apps and mobile apps. It's basically navigating to a certain page on your app from the outside. So like if you get an email and you click on that link and it takes you to a specific page in your app. Or like for mobile apps, like sharing, if you want to share a link sometimes from an app, from within an app, like on YouTube or something, you want to share a YouTube video, there's that share button, and then you click it, and then you can copy and paste the URL, and then text that to someone. They click on the link, and it will open up their YouTube app on their phone, and then take them to that specific video. That's deep linking also, because it's not just linking to the base route of your page, right? Anyone can just go there, right? And just, pasting a link for youtube.com is super easy. You don't need anything special for that, because it will just show whatever's on the front page of YouTube when you go there, right? But if you want to link to a specific video or a page or something, then the app has to know from the URL where it should navigate the person following the URL. So that's what deep linking is. It's just linking not to the first route or anything, but to a specific page, and maybe with some specific data to your app. So that's what what they mean by deep link. So we might not get to this today, but we'll see. So we'll enable navigation to the hero details component and liberate it from the heroes component. We're just going to take it out of the heroes component and make it its own page. So first thing, we need to remove the hero details component from the heroes component. Yeah, so that's all we need to do. We just need to go to heroes. We're showing hero detail here. We just take this out. Save. And now it's not going to be there. That's fine. We're going to add a page that we're going to route to. So this is where navigation gets a little bit more in depth, I guess. What we have right now is pretty simple, but passing data from one route to the next, or adding data to the URL or something, adds a little bit more syntax. So here, we need to add hero detail route. So here they're saying a URL like /detail/ a number, right? So they're using 11 here as an example, but this is just going to be any number. Would be a good URL for navigating to the hero detail view of the hero whose ID is 11. So basically what we're going to do is define a route that's /detail/ some ID, and it's going to show the hero for that ID. The ID is just going to be the ID of the hero that we're going to be showing. So we're going to go to our app routing module. We're going to import the hero detail component and then make the route for that. So I'm going to do that. Here we go. So we import hero detail from hero detail slash hero detail component. What is this? Oh, component. There we go. And then we make another route for this. So we add another object, path, and it's going to be detail slash ID. So string detail slash colon ID. The colon means it's like a placeholder. So it's like where we would, it's like a variable ID. So yeah, so go to slash detail slash some ID, then we can get the ID out of the URL in the details component, which we'll see when we get there. And then we'll use that number in the URL. So that's how we're going to be passing data from one route to the next. We're going to be adding it to the URL, just a number. And then this is going to go to our hero details component. There, so yeah, the colon and the path, right, when we do colon ID, indicates that colon ID is a placeholder for a specific hero ID. Now we have all of our routes in place. Then we need to make a link to the hero detail component. So the dashboard component hero links do nothing at the moment. If you go to dashboard, these don't do anything. But now that the router has a route to the hero detail component, we can add a link to that. So links to navigate via the parameterized dashboard route. Okay. So on our MG4, we're going to make an MG4. Do we already have this? So this is inside the dashboard component HTML. Let me close some of these tags. So dashboard component HTML. Hero of heroes. We have an A tag. So we're just adding this attribute to our MG4. So I'm going to copy this. And it's our A tag. And then we're doing this. So this is using string interpolation inside the path that we're navigating to. And we're just passing it hero ID. So this is going to be our MG4 is making our list of heroes that we can use hero when we click on it to go to slash detail slash hero.id, which is just the ID of the hero that we're clicking on. So we add this, and then we should see that it should navigate, I think, now. So we're on dashboard, click one, and it will show. It's not showing any data yet because we're not using the ID, but you can see when we click on one of these, it changes the URL to slash detail slash a number, and the number changes depending on which one we click. So this is 12, Bombasto is 13, Celeritas is 14, right? So as the ID for that hero to our URL, and we're going to use that later. Okay, so next, let's see. The hero items in the heroes component are list elements whose click events are bound to the component's onSelect method. So strip the list element back to just its MG4. So what do we have now? Heroes, list element, MG4. It has this click, click listener and this class binding thing. So we're just going to keep the ng4 on the list item, and then it looks like we're going to get rid of the click listener, or we're going to keep the ng4, get rid of class binding, click listener, and then we're just going to navigate, it looks like. So we're adding an A tag with router link here. So we're going to be doing the same thing on our heroes component that we did here on our dashboard component, but we're just going to do that on this list of heroes. So I think this is all we need. So we just the UL, I'm just going to copy and paste this here. So we have our list with the ng4 that we're iterating over. So we still have our list of heroes. But each one has a router link now, and we're doing the same thing that we did in the dashboard component. We're just navigating to /detail and giving it the ID of the hero that we clicked. So now, if we go to, and you notice now these links are purple because I've visited these 3 before. So now we can click one of these, and it will take us. It will navigate us. We'll have to fix the private style sheet to make the list look as it did before. Oh, I need to fix this style sheet for some reason. So if we want to make this look like it did before, then what we need to do, ugh, all this CSS that I didn't write. What was it before? So before we had a list. Here, I'm just going to find. So revised styles and the final code review. I mean, I could just leave it. I'm just going to leave it as it is. It looks fine. It would look nicer with their styles, but that's not important now. So I'm just going to leave it looking like how it is. Removing dead code, that's probably a good idea. We probably have some code that we don't need anymore. So while the heroes component class still works, the onSelect method and the selected hero property are no longer used. Right, so all we're doing now is navigating. Instead of displaying the hero details in the heroes component, we're just navigating to the hero details component. So we don't need to do this onSelect stuff, since all we're doing when we click now is navigating. We're not doing onSelect, doing all this stuff. We're not using onSelect or get heroes. So we don't need what don't we need? The heroes service. But we do need the hero service, but not the message service. So yeah, let me see here. Copy this. We don't need selected hero or heroes or the hero service, I see. So if I just paste this. Oh, doesn't actually give you everything. Let me just get the class. And then here. Paste that. Okay. And then the routable hero detail component. Previously, the parent heroes component set the hero detail component hero property, right? When we were doing what I was talking about before with the input decorator and then passing in the hero object to the hero detail component because it was a child. Like this, we're not going to be doing this anymore. Now it needs a new way to obtain the hero to display. So you get the route that created it, extract the ID, and then get the hero with that ID. So in our hero detail component TypeScript, we add these imports. Excuse me. Add these imports. Hero detail component TypeScript here. So now we're importing activated route from Angular router, location from Angular common, and then our hero service. Yeah, we're importing our hero service now. Okay, and then we need to instantiate all these. These are all services, basically. And whenever you have a service, you need to instantiate them in the constructor. So we're going to do these inside of our constructor, like this. So we have route is activated route, hero service is hero service, and location is location. Activated route is, it holds information about the route to this instance of the hero detail component. So the reason I was saying earlier, activated route, right? The router outlet shows the activated route. When you navigate to a route, that one then becomes the activated route. And you can get information about the current state of the router, like previous screen and stuff in the URL. You can get that stuff with activated route. So that's what that is for. This component is interested in the route's parameters extracted from the URL. The ID parameter is the ID of the hero to display. So when it says parameters, that's the /ID. We navigate here, the /ID at the end, /11, that is the parameter, the route parameter. That's what it's referring to. The hero service gets hero data from the remote server, quote unquote. We don't have a remote server. That's why we hard-coded our data in our service in mock heroes, right? It's not a remote server, but it kind of behaves like one. Or we're using it like one, kind of. Oh, that's just displaying or talking about the things that we're importing still. So the location thing that we imported, in hero detail component from Angular common, that is an Angular service for interacting with the browser, and we'll be using it later to navigate back to the view that navigated there. And now we get the ID from the route parameter. So this is where the magic happens. So in ng-init, we get hero, this .get hero, and then we're going to create a function. I'm going to use that in ng-init. So I'm just going to copy and paste this, put it here. So we have we haven't made get hero yet. I think. We're going to do that in a minute. Okay. So that's why this is complaining, is because we haven't made get hero on our hero service yet. But basically, we're going to fetch the hero with this .route, right, which is activated route. This .route.snapshot.parammap.get ID. So that's a lot of things, but just know you have to use this to get ID. So this ID is referring to our route that we made here, :ID. So that is going to be the ID at the end here. So it's a long line of code, but just know we're just getting the ID out of the URL. And then we're going to get our hero with that ID. And then we're doing that in ng-init. So we need to make our getHero method, and describes everything it's doing here. Route.snapshot is an image of the route information, param map, blah, 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 all this stuff. Just know this is getting the ID value from the URL. And the plus sign at the beginning changes it into a number, because when you get it from the URL, right, URLs are always strings. So when we get that number out of the URL, it's going to be a string, but we want to cast it to a number, and that's what this does. So I'll show you guys actually. That's a JavaScript thing. It's not an Angular thing. It's just JavaScript syntax. It's not TypeScript syntax either. But if I have a variable, my number equals 1, and then if I console log my number, it shows it as a string because that's what it is. It's a string. But if you had a plus sign at the beginning, it changes it to the number. So that's what that is doing. You get a plus sign before a value or variable, then it will cast it to a number from a string. I don't know if you can do more than one. Oh, that just increments it. Just once. Interesting. So, but just one, we'll change it to a number. That's what the plus sign is doing. So now let's make our getHero method inside of our hero service. So I'm going to take this and then go to the hero service, paste that here. So our getHero method takes an ID, which is going to be a number, right? And then finds the hero with that ID from our array, and then it will return that. We're just returning the hero with the ID that we're passing in, and we're adding the message to when we get hero, and logging that we fetched a hero. So that's what we're doing here. We're getting the ID from the URL, passing that into getHero, and getHero takes that ID, pulls out the hero that has that ID from the array, and returns it. So this gives us one hero object matching ID, right? So we do .find, which I think is just a JavaScript method for an array, where you just find where the element has .id equal to the ID that we're giving it. So basically it just goes to our heroes array. Say we pass it, say we're passing it 10 or 11. Say we're passing it 11. Goes to our heroes array, finds where hero.id equals 11. And this is hero.id 11. So it will give us this object. And that's what hero will be. And then we return that. All right. So that's what we're doing here. And then here it has an asynchronous signature because it returns an observable, blah, blah, blah. Not super important right now. You guys will learn about HTTP later. So now let's try it, I guess. I'm going to just go back to base route and let's see, go back to heroes. And if we click 1, then we get the information, the details for that hero now. So this didn't show before because we weren't actually fetching a hero, but now we are. So this is showing the hero details component. And we pass the ID for the hero that we clicked on in the URL. Then when we got to the hero details page, basically, it got that hero with that ID here. Where is it? Hero details, yeah, here. So we get the ID from the URL and then get the hero. And then we're reassigning this .hero here. So we actually don't need this anymore since we're not passing in hero to from a parent component, passing it in from another route, or we're passing the ID from another route and then using the ID. So we get the ID from the URL, pass it into get hero returns the hero with that ID, and then we reassign this .hero to that hero. And then we're using hero in the template here, and it's actually displaying it here. Okay. And then now we're doing go back with location. So that is basically, we're going to use location to do the back button functionality, basically, like your browser back button. But instead of having to use one in your browser, we're going to make a button that does that instead. But I think we'll do that next week, and we'll stop here because it's almost 7. And we've gone over a lot of stuff already anyway. All right. You guys have any assignments for this week? Or was it just so I don't know if we want to assign you anything this week. If you want to go ahead on this, you can. I'll talk to Marty and see if we want to assign something. And then if we do, we'll do it tomorrow or Thursday or something. But that's it for today. Does anyone have any questions? I know it's a lot of stuff. And routing, I think routing's the last like big concept in Angular. I think. I can't think of another big concept like this that you guys are gonna have to learn. But yeah, routing and components, the two biggest concepts, and they each have a lot of little things. But basic routing is not very complicated. It gets, like, at least the syntax isn't, right? Syntax is just, we have this routing module, it declares the routes for our components, and then we have the router outlet, and then we have links to those routes, and that's all basic routing is. You don't need anything else. It gets a little bit more in the weeds when you're passing data with route parameters and stuff. But I'm going to push this to Marty's repo if I have access. I probably don't have write access. I'm going to have him give me write access to it so I can push it probably. Add routing, git push. Yeah, well, I'll have him give me access, so I'll push this, and then I'll talk to him and see if we want to give you guys something to practice this week. But that's about it, and I will stop recording, and I will post the recording